32F. A new colleague casually mentioned my husband's 34M girlfriend during lunch. After 6 years of marriage, my world collapsed in the break room. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. My husband, Mark, and I have been married for 6 years, together for 9. We have a 4-year-old daughter, Lily, who is the center of our world. We met during graduate school. I was studying educational psychology while he was getting his MBA. After graduation, we both built solid careers. I work as a school psychologist for a public school district, and Mark is in corporate finance for a large healthcare company. Our marriage had what I thought was a strong foundation. We survived the sleep-deprived newborn phase, supported each other through career transitions, and still managed to have date nights twice a month. We bought our first home 2 years ago, a fixer-upper that we've been renovating together on weekends. While we had the normal stresses of working parents, childcare logistics, house projects, and occasionally falling into the roommate rut, I believed we were fundamentally happy and committed. Mark had always been a dedicated father and supportive partner. He coached Lily's toddler soccer team, made pancakes every Sunday morning, and still brought me coffee in bed most weekends. We had occasional disagreements about parenting approaches or household responsibilities, but nothing that seemed to signal deep problems in our relationship. The only recent change I'd noticed was Mark working later several nights a week over the past few months. He explained that his company was undergoing a merger, creating additional workload for his team. The explanation made perfect sense, and I tried to be understanding despite the strain it put on our family schedule. Everything changed 3 months ago during a lunch break at work. Our school district had just hired a new school counselor, Jen, who had moved from another part of the city. We were having a getting-to-know-you lunch with several colleagues when the conversation turned to our partners. After I mentioned my husband worked in healthcare finance, Jen's expression shifted from friendly to confused. "What did you say your husband's name was?" she asked. Mark Thompson," I replied, showing her a family photo on my phone. The color drained from her face. "Oh my God," she whispered, looking genuinely distressed. "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I thought..." The table went quiet, as everyone sensed something was wrong. My stomach dropped as Jen struggled to find words. I think I might know your husband," she finally said. "Does he work at Meridian Health Partners?" When I nodded, she continued hesitantly. "My best friend Allison has been dating a Mark from Meridian for about 6 months. She's mentioned his daughter a few times, but I thought he was divorced or separated. She showed me pictures once, and that's definitely the same man." The break room seemed to tilt around me. Colleagues' faces blurred as I tried to process this information. Someone must have misunderstood something. There had to be another Mark Thompson at Meridian. This couldn't be real. "There must be some mistake," I said, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. "We're very much married, happily married." Jen looked miserable. "I'm so sorry. I wouldn't have said anything if I'd known. Allison really believes they're in a serious relationship. She even mentioned meeting his daughter recently." That detail hit me like a physical blow. Mark had taken Lily to the Children's Museum 3 weekends ago, giving me a day off to catch up with college friends. Had he actually introduced our daughter to his girlfriend during what I thought was father-daughter time? The rest of the workday passed in a haze. I canceled my afternoon appointments, claiming a sudden migraine, and retreated to my office to investigate. With shaking hands, I searched social media for any trace of this Allison and found her quickly. Allison Chen, a pharmaceutical rep who frequently interacted with healthcare companies. Her Instagram was mostly public, and scrolling through her recent posts made me physically ill. There he was, my husband, in the background of a group happy hour photo from 2 months ago, his arm casually draped over her chair. Another photo showed a man's hand with a watch I had given Mark for his birthday, holding a wine glass across the table from her at an upscale restaurant. Most damning of all was a picture of a weekend hike where Lily was partially visible, labeled only as spending time with M and his adorable little one. My daughter, my husband, a complete stranger who apparently believed she was building a relationship with both of them. I left work early, picked Lily up from daycare, and dropped her at my mother's house, claiming I needed to prepare a surprise for Mark's birthday, which was still months away. Then I began methodically piecing together evidence of his deception. Our shared calendar showed dozens of late meetings and work dinners over the past 6 months. Our credit card statements revealed meals at restaurants I'd never heard him mention, flower deliveries to an unknown address, and even a weekend hotel stay during a business conference I now suspected never existed. Mark's location sharing on our family account had been turned off for months, something he'd attributed to a phone update that must have changed the settings. When I checked our cell phone records, I found hundreds of texts and calls to a number I didn't recognize, often happening late at night or during his supposed work events. By evening, I had compiled irrefutable evidence of a substantial, ongoing relationship. This wasn't a one-time mistake or brief fling. Mark had been systematically creating space in our family life for another relationship, lying to me daily, and most unforgivably involving our daughter in his deception. I decided to confront Mark immediately rather than letting the knowledge fester. When he arrived home around 7:30 p.m., later than his usual 6:00 p.m., a pattern I now recognized as significant, I was sitting at our dining room table with printed photos, calendar screenshots, and credit card statements arranged before me. "How's Allison?" I asked as he walked through the door. He froze mid-step, his expression cycling rapidly through confusion, shock, and finally, resignation. For several seconds, he said nothing, seemingly calculating possible responses. "Sarah," he began, his voice unsteady, "I can explain." "Please do," I interrupted, gesturing to the evidence on the table. "Explain how you've been dating someone for 6 months without my knowledge. Explain why you introduced our daughter to your girlfriend. Explain how you could come home every night, kiss me hello, and sleep beside me while building a separate relationship." What followed was the most painful conversation of my life. After brief attempts at minimizing the situation, "It's not as serious as it looks. It just happened," Mark finally acknowledged the full extent of his deception. He had met Allison at a pharmaceutical conference last year. What started as professional networking evolved into lunches, then drinks, then more. He admitted to telling her he was separated and in the process of divorce, claiming he only saw Lily on his weekends and that we maintained a cordial co-parenting relationship. "Why?" I asked, the question that had been burning inside me. "If you were unhappy with me, with us, why not just say so?" His answer stunned me with its selfishness. "I wasn't unhappy," he said, looking genuinely confused by his own actions. "I love you and Lily. Our life together is good. With Allison, it was just different, exciting. No responsibilities, no history, just something that was mine alone." "And Lily," I asked, my voice breaking, "how could you involve our daughter in this?" He looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Allison kept asking to meet her. I thought it would be just once, just to appease her, but Lily really liked her, and it seemed harmless since they'd never meet again. "Harmless?" I repeated incredulously. "You used our daughter as a prop in your fake divorced dad life. You risked confusing and hurting her to make your girlfriend happy." When I asked if he loved Allison, his hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "I don't know," he finally said. It all got so complicated. I never intended for any of this to happen. That night, Mark packed a bag and went to stay with his brother. I spent hours sitting on our bathroom floor, alternating between sobbing and periods of numb disbelief. How could the man I thought I knew so well have led such an elaborate double life? How had I missed the signs? The next day brought practical matters that required attention despite my emotional devastation. I consulted a lawyer to understand my options. I arranged emergency therapy for myself. I told my mother a simplified version of what had happened so she could help with Lily while I navigated the initial crisis. Telling Lily that Daddy would be staying at Uncle Jim's for a while was possibly the most painful moment. Her little face crumpled in confusion as she asked if she had done something wrong to make Daddy leave. Reassuring her while managing my own grief felt almost impossible. Over the following weeks, more details emerged that only deepened the betrayal. Mark had created a separate email account and messaging app for communicating with Allison. He had a second Instagram account where he portrayed himself as a dedicated single dad, navigating co-parenting with his soon-to-be ex-wife. He had even attended a work function with Allison, where several of his colleagues met her as his girlfriend, apparently believing his fictional separation story. Most shocking was learning that Mark had been considering taking a job in another department, one that would have involved significant travel, to create more opportunities to see Allison while maintaining our family life in parallel. The level of calculation and compartmentalization required for these plans chilled me to the core. Through a mutual friend, I learned that Allison was devastated upon learning the truth. She had genuinely believed she was building a future with a soon-to-be divorced father who had presented himself as honest and available. In a strange way, we were both victims of Mark's deception, though the magnitude of my betrayal as his wife and Lily's mother felt incomparable. It's been 3 months since my world imploded in that school break room. Mark and I are legally separated, with divorce proceedings underway. He's renting an apartment nearby and has Lily 3 days a week, an arrangement that initially felt generous given his betrayal, but that I recognize as important for her stability and well-being. The first few weeks were focused on survival, establishing new routines, explaining changes to Lily in age-appropriate ways, managing the practical aspects of separation. My therapist has been invaluable in helping me process the trauma of betrayal while maintaining functionality for my daughter's sake. Mark has shown what appears to be genuine remorse, although I struggle to trust any of his emotions now. He's in individual therapy, has cut all contact with Allison, and has been transparent about his whereabouts and activities during his time with Lily. He's expressed hope that we might eventually consider reconciliation, though I've been clear that I can't envision rebuilding trust after such calculated deception. As for me, I'm slowly reconstructing a life I never planned for. I've found surprising strength in this crisis, supported by friends and family who have rallied around us. Lily and I have Friday movie nights, Saturday morning pancakes, reclaiming the tradition Mark started, and are creating new memories in what sometimes feels like a Shadowland version of our former life. The hardest part remains the randomness of grief. I can be fine for days, functioning well at work and present with Lily, when suddenly a song on the radio or the sight of a family that resembles what we once were triggers overwhelming sadness. My therapist assures me this is normal and will gradually become less intense with time. I've chosen to keep the details of Mark's infidelity private from most people in our lives, sharing the full truth only with my closest sister and best friend. This isn't to protect Mark's reputation, but to preserve Lily's right to form her own relationship with her father without the burden of others' judgments. It also allows me some control over my narrative. I don't want to be seen as just a betrayed wife when I am working to be so much more. Through therapy and painful reflection, I've gained insights that might help others. 1. Trust your community. Had Jen not spoken up, however accidentally, I might still be living in ignorance while my husband built a parallel life. Sometimes the truth comes from unexpected sources. 2. Pay attention to pattern changes. Mark's increasing late nights, vague work explanations, and disabled location sharing were signs I rationalized away because I trusted him implicitly. 3. The foundation of betrayal is often entitlement, not unhappiness. Mark didn't cheat because our marriage was failing. He cheated because he felt entitled to the excitement of a new relationship while maintaining the stability of our family. 4. Children are remarkably resilient but need honest, age-appropriate explanations. Lily doesn't know why her parents separated, but she does know it's not her fault and that both her parents love her unconditionally. 5. Healing isn't linear. Some days I feel strong and forward-looking. Other days, the betrayal feels as fresh as the moment I learned of it. Both experiences are valid parts of the recovery process. For those experiencing similar revelations, know that the overwhelming pain does eventually become manageable. You will find moments of joy again, even as you navigate the grief of lost trust and changed plans. The future may look different than you imagined, but it can still hold meaning, connection, and eventually, peace. TLDR, a new colleague casually mentioned my husband had a girlfriend, leading me to discover his 6-month affair with a woman who believed he was separated. He had even introduced our daughter to her during daddy-daughter days. 3 months post-discovery, we're separated and divorcing as I rebuild a life for myself and our daughter. Edit. Thank you all for the overwhelming support and kind words. To address some common questions. 1. How is Lily doing with the separation? She has good days and difficult days. We've established consistent routines between both homes, and her therapist says she's adjusting as well as can be expected. Children are incredibly resilient when they feel loved and secure. 2. Have you had any contact with Allison? No, and I don't plan to. While I don't blame her for the situation given what she was told, I don't see how communication would benefit either of us at this point. 3. Is reconciliation completely off the table? While I never say never, I can't currently imagine rebuilding trust with someone capable of such elaborate deception. The calculated nature of the affair, creating a fictional divorced life, involving our daughter, feels insurmountable. 4. What happened with your colleague Jen? She was horrified at being the bearer of such news and has been supportive but appropriately professional since. I don't blame her at all. In fact, I'm grateful she didn't realize the connection until it was too late to stay silent. 5. Are you dating again? Absolutely not. I'm focusing entirely on healing myself and providing stability for Lily. My therapist suggests waiting at least a year before considering dating, advice I plan to follow. Thank you again for letting me share my story. Writing it out has been unexpectedly therapeutic, and your support means more than you know.